Your words carry a divine power that many overlook, a creative energy that has the potential to shape everything around you. Every sound that escapes your lips is not just air. It is a command, a vibration that resonates through both the natural and spiritual realms. The universe, the unseen forces, and even opportunities listen to the tone and intent behind your words. When you speak with conviction and faith, you activate invisible currents that begin to move resources, people, and circumstances toward your purpose. The power of speech is not symbolic. It is real, dynamic, and unstoppable when used with faith. Your words are like seeds planted into the soil of your destiny. Every declaration becomes a seed with the potential to bear fruit in due season. If you plant seeds of lack, doubt, and fear through your speech, you will reap confusion and stagnation. But if you plant words of abundance, faith, and confidence, your harvest will be filled with provision, opportunities, and financial freedom. You must learn to speak intentionally, because what you continually say creates the world you will eventually live in. The law of speech is constant. It never stops working. It only responds to what you release from your mouth. When you speak with faith, you are not begging for change. You are creating it. There is a profound difference between hoping something will happen and declaring it into existence. Hope waits for the right time, but faith speaks as if it already is. The authority to shape your financial world does not come from labor alone. It comes from understanding that your voice carries divine creative force. Every command you make in faith is a construction, order in the spiritual realm, instructing provision to find you and abundance to manifest. Every time you speak, heaven listens. The spiritual realm responds to faith-filled declarations the way nature responds to rain. It brings growth, life, and movement. When you say, I am blessed, you align yourself with blessings. When you declare, wealth flows to me, you create a path for that flow to find you. Your words are spiritual magnets that draw into your life the very things you believe and speak about. Silence may hide power, but speech releases it. The moment you begin to speak life over your finances, the process of transformation begins. There is no neutral word in the realm of creation. Every sentence carries energy. It either builds or destroys, increases or diminishes, strengthens or weakens. The greatest mistake people make is using their own voice against their destiny. When they complain about lack, they reinforce it. When they speak of struggle, they invite more of it. But when they rise above what they see and begin to declare what they believe, everything starts to shift. Speaking abundance when you have little is not denial, it is faith. It is seeing beyond the visible and commanding the invisible to take form. The act of speaking is not just communication, it is manifestation. When you say, money comes to me, you are not simply expressing a wish, you are giving an instruction to creation itself. Words are spiritual servants. They go out to accomplish what they are sent to do. Every affirmation you make builds a structure in the unseen world that eventually becomes visible. Your life today is the sum total of what you spoke yesterday. What you will experience tomorrow depends on what you speak today. There are people who labor tirelessly, yet remain stagnant because they have not learned the art of speaking abundance. Work without faith-filled speech is like planting without watering. The seed remains but never grows. Your speech waters your efforts. It gives life to your actions. When you work hard but speak negatively, you block your own harvest. When your words agree with your faith, and your faith agrees with your actions, increase becomes inevitable. Speech completes the cycle of manifestation. To speak effectively, you must also believe deeply. Words without belief are noise, but words with conviction are power. Faith is the electricity that gives life to your declarations. When you say, "I am prospering," you must feel it in your heart, see it in your mind, and believe it even when nothing around you confirms it. The spiritual realm does not respond to desperation. It responds to conviction. Speak with authority, not anxiety. Let every word you release sound like a decree from one who knows their power. Your speech must be consistent, not conditional. It cannot depend on how you feel or what your circumstances look like. True power is revealed when you speak abundance in the middle of lack, when you declare victory in the face of defeat. Consistency turns declarations into reality because persistence breaks resistance. Every time you affirm your prosperity, you reinforce your spiritual command and weaken the grip of limitation. Speak daily, speak boldly, speak as one who understands that repetition is creation's rhythm. You have the divine ability to command change through your words. The same voice that can express pain can also release power. The same tongue that can describe failure can decree abundance. You have carried this authority since the beginning. You only need to awaken to it. Every declaration is a key, every word a doorway, and every sentence a step toward transformation. When you truly understand that your voice moves money, shifts opportunities, and opens doors, you will stop waiting for change and start speaking it into existence. Faith-filled declarations are the language of creation, the sound that activates movement in both the seen and unseen worlds. When you speak with faith, you are not merely expressing desire, you are authorizing the invisible to become visible. Money, opportunity, and abundance are spiritual energies that respond to vibration, and faith is the frequency that calls them forth. Every time you declare increase, prosperity, or provision with unwavering belief, you set invisible laws into motion that align people, timing, and circumstances in your favor. Faith gives weight to your words, turning them from casual speech into divine commands that creation cannot ignore. Faith is not passive. It is a force that demands engagement. When you speak in faith, your words are carried beyond emotion or intellect. They become alive with authority. Fear may whisper limitations, but faith speaks expansion. Doubt observes lack, but faith declares overflow. When your words are charged with faith, they override the evidence of your current condition and create a new reality that reflects what you believe, not what you see. This is the mystery of spiritual law. You don't speak because it exists. It exists because you speak. Your declarations are instructions written in the language of power. Every phrase spoken with faith sends a signal into the unseen realm that commands resources to move. The spiritual world operates by agreement. When your words agree with divine principles, doors open that effort alone could never unlock. Your faith speaks louder than your situation, and it carries a creative force that rearranges what seems immovable. Each time you say, "Money is coming to me," or "I live in abundance," you are activating spiritual mechanics that pull provision toward you with magnetic precision. Faith gives your words shape and direction. Without faith, declarations are hollow. They lack the life that causes change. With faith, even a whisper carries power. Faith transforms sound into substance, taking invisible words and turning them into tangible outcomes. It connects your inner conviction with the external world, creating a bridge between your belief and your manifestation. When you speak faith, you are essentially giving life to what has been waiting in potential form, commanding it to take physical shape and show itself. Money does not respond to emotion. It responds to instruction. Words spoken in fear carry confusion, but words spoken in faith carry clarity. When you declare increase with certainty, the energy around you begins to align with your declaration. Faith does not entertain hesitation. It speaks as though the answer already exists. When you say, "I have more than enough," even while facing lack, faith begins constructing the path that will lead you to overflow. What you call with conviction eventually comes, because faith cannot be denied when it is spoken in alignment with truth. Faith-filled speech requires consistency, not perfection. There may be moments when circumstances seem to contradict your declarations, but that is the moment when your faith must speak louder. Every challenge is a test of conviction. If you keep speaking abundance in the middle of struggle, you prove to the universe that you will not be swayed by sight. The longer you remain steadfast, the more power your words accumulate. Persistence in faith is not repetition. It is reinforcement. Every declaration strengthens your spiritual structure until manifestation becomes inevitable. When faith and speech combine, they create momentum that nothing can stop. This momentum grows quietly but powerfully, rearranging events and drawing solutions into your path. You may not see the movement at first, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Faith operates beyond visibility. It works in silence until the evidence becomes undeniable. Your words are like arrows of light that go forth to accomplish their mission, and faith ensures that they never miss their target. The energy of faith transforms your atmosphere. When you speak with confidence, the vibration of your words shifts your environment, making it fertile for manifestation. People begin to notice your confidence, opportunities are drawn to your boldness, and even your own mind starts to expect success. Faith is magnetic. It attracts the same energy it releases. The moment you decide to speak from faith rather than fear, everything around you begins to respond differently. You stop chasing provision and start attracting it naturally. Every time you release faith through your words, you are aligning with divine timing. Faith is not impatient. It understands that manifestation happens when preparation meets purpose. Each declaration positions you closer to the moment when what you have spoken becomes real. The more you speak, the more synchronized you become with opportunity. The universe honors consistent faith, rewarding those who refuse to let go of their confession, even when nothing seems to change. The power of faith-filled declarations is that they turn your voice into a creative instrument of prosperity. Your words become tools that carve new paths and open locked doors. Each time you speak with conviction, you command invisible forces to rearrange themselves for your benefit. What begins as simple speech becomes a chain reaction of blessings that multiplies with every word of faith. The movement you seek is already in motion. It only awaits your voice to complete the command. Silence is one of the greatest enemies of progress because silence allows lack to speak louder than faith. When you do not speak over your situation, your circumstances begin to dictate your reality. Life responds to voices, and the one that speaks most consistently determines the outcome. If you remain quiet in the face of financial struggle, you give permission for limitation to continue ruling your life. The moment you open your mouth and declare abundance, you disrupt the silence that keeps you bound. Speaking is not just a spiritual act, it is a declaration of authority, a sign that you refuse to be dominated by your circumstances. Every time you stay silent, you give room for fear and doubt to build their fortress. The mind begins to imagine the worst, and those thoughts soon become beliefs. But when you speak, you break the cycle of negativity. Words have the power to interrupt patterns, to reset the direction of your life, and to introduce new energy into your atmosphere. Silence creates stagnation, but speech stirs movement. You cannot think your way out of lack. You must speak your way out. Thought is internal, but speech releases what is within into the external world, where change takes place. When you speak with boldness, you silence the voice of lack that whispers defeat. Your declarations are not empty words. They are weapons designed to pierce through doubt and resistance. Every time you say, "I am wealthy," "I am provided for," or "money is moving toward me," you are silencing fear and amplifying faith. The volume of your victory must always be louder than the noise of your circumstances. Faith does not whisper in fear. It roars in confidence, declaring what will be even before it appears. Silence will keep you waiting, but speech will start the process of manifestation. Words are spiritual sound waves that carry the energy of your belief. When spoken with conviction, they command attention from both heaven and earth. Your situation listens to your voice. Your atmosphere responds to your speech. Silence tells your challenges they can stay, but declaration tells them they must move. You are never powerless when you have the ability to speak. Each word you release is a decree, an order to the unseen realm to shift and align with your expectation. This is why you must speak daily, intentionally, and with determination, because silence leaves authority unclaimed. If you want transformation, you must learn to replace quiet desperation with active declaration. Many people suffer in silence, hoping for change without ever giving it a voice. But faith demands expression. Speaking is proof that you believe something greater is possible. When you remain silent, your faith remains dormant. But when you speak, you activate the creative power of your belief. Even a single sentence spoken in faith has the potential to ignite change. You cannot afford to be quiet when your words have the power to open doors and command provision. Lack thrives in silence because silence is agreement. When you say nothing, you unconsciously agree with your current state. You might not intend to, but your inaction communicates acceptance. The moment you speak against lack, you break that agreement and introduce new terms, terms of increase, favor, and prosperity. Words are contracts written in sound. Every time you declare abundance, you rewrite the laws governing your life. You dissolve the authority of limitation and establish the dominion of faith. Silence is submission, but speech is revolution. Your environment often mirrors what you say or refuse to say. When you fill your surroundings with words of victory and gratitude, your energy shifts, your focus sharpens, and new ideas begin to emerge. You start to see opportunities where there were none before. But when you remain quiet, your awareness closes and your creativity becomes dull. The sound of your own voice in faith awakens possibilities that silence keeps hidden. It doesn't matter how small your declaration seems. What matters is consistency, because persistence in speaking eventually transforms atmosphere into manifestation. Speaking in faith also strengthens your inner confidence. Every declaration is a reminder to your spirit that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a commander of change. As you speak, your own ears hear the sound of victory, and that sound reshapes your mindset. You begin to think differently, act differently, and expect differently. Silence keeps your spirit weak, but speech fortifies your belief. Each declaration builds an inner foundation strong enough to support external success. Faith comes by hearing, and the most important voice you will ever hear is your own. You cannot fight silence with thought. You can only defeat it with sound. Speak even when you feel uncertain. Speak even when nothing seems to happen. The act of speaking is the act of taking back authority. It tells the universe, I am not finished. I am not giving up. I am still in control. Silence gives power to delay, but speech gives life to momentum. When you speak daily with conviction, you train your world to respond to your words. And soon, what once seemed immovable begins to shift. Every great change begins with a sound. The world itself was formed through words, not thoughts. The principle has never changed. Creation still responds to the sound of faith. You cannot be silent and expect a miracle. Your words are your greatest currency, your voice the instrument of transformation. Break the silence that holds your potential captive. Speak until movement begins. Speak until provision hears you. Speak until the energy around you vibrates with alignment. Speak until what you believe becomes what you see. Money is not your master, it is your servant, and servants respond to commands. The problem is not that money does not exist. It is that too many people have never told it what to do. Money has no direction of its own. It follows the voice of instruction. When you give it purpose, it begins to move. But when you remain passive, it stays still. You have been given authority over the resources of the earth, and that includes the flow of finances. When you speak to money with intention, it listens. because sound carries energy, and energy carries instruction. You must learn to speak to money as though it were alive, because in the spiritual realm, it responds to energy, confidence, and clarity. When you say, money, come to me, you are not begging, you are commanding. You are aligning your will and faith with divine principles of provision. Every word you speak in faith becomes a magnet for opportunity. Money moves in the direction of clarity. When you tell it where to go, what to do, and how to serve your purpose, it begins to respond accordingly. Lack often comes not from shortage, but from misdirection. Unspoken money has no mission. When you give money an assignment, you create movement in the realm of provision. Say, money, I command you to serve my purpose. I command you to pay every bill. I command you to bring increase to my household. Speak with precision and belief, because vague words produce vague results. You cannot afford to be casual with your speech. Be deliberate, specific, and full of conviction. Money follows vision, and vision is communicated through words. If you speak with authority, it recognizes your command. You are not chasing wealth, you are summoning it. Money was created to circulate, not to control. When you begin to direct it, instead of fearing it, it becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. Tell it where to flow, into investments, into opportunities, into causes that align with your calling. Do not let money sit idly. Send it forth with purpose. Every time you spend, give, or invest, attach words to your action. Say, this money will multiply. This seed will return 100-fold. This transaction will bring increase. Your voice gives movement to every financial act, ensuring that your money works even while you sleep. Speaking to money requires both faith and wisdom. Faith commands, and wisdom manages. You can declare abundance all day, but if you do not align your management with your confession, your results will remain temporary. When you tell money to move, also give it direction through action. Budget, plan, invest, but do so while speaking life over every step. The words you release build the spiritual structure, your actions fill it. When faith and wisdom meet, increase becomes inevitable, and money flows with purpose and precision. Your relationship with money reflects your understanding of authority. If you treat it with fear, it will dominate you. If you treat it with confidence, it will serve you. The spiritual law remains constant. Whatever you speak to with authority must respond. Say, money, you are my servant. You will not control me. You will not intimidate me. You will serve my mission, expand my influence, and create opportunities for others. Speak these words daily, not as a ritual, but as a reminder of who holds the power. You are not under money, money is under your command. When you speak to money, your tone must carry conviction. Words without energy have no influence. Speak as one who expects obedience. Speak as a commander issuing orders, not as a beggar pleading for relief. Your financial situation does not change because you wish. It changes because you declare. When your voice is filled with confidence, you awaken movement in the atmosphere. The unseen realm responds to authority, and authority is carried through sound. Speak with power until your world begins to echo your words. Money flows where it is respected, not where it is idolized. Respect means handling it wisely, speaking of it honorably, and commanding it purposefully. Idolizing it means placing it above your purpose. When you understand that money is simply a tool, your words gain weight. You no longer chase it, you direct it. You no longer serve it, you instruct it. The shift happens the moment you realize that financial power begins with spiritual authority. You are meant to command wealth, not be enslaved by it. The act of speaking to money transforms your mindset. It reminds you that abundance begins internally before it manifests externally. When you say, money flows easily to me, you are not lying. You are programming your consciousness to attract prosperity. Your words create mental pathways that align your behavior with success. Soon your actions, decisions, and opportunities begin to mirror what you have spoken. The mind and spirit work together to bring your declarations into reality. The more you speak, the stronger your alignment becomes. Every day, open your mouth and give your money a mission. Tell it to grow, to return multiplied, to find you from expected and unexpected sources. Speak to it in faith and with joy. The more specific your instruction, the more precise the response. Command your finances to move toward expansion, favor, and freedom. Speak until your words become habit, and your habit becomes lifestyle. The power has never been outside of you. It has always been waiting for your voice to release it. Faith and wisdom must walk hand in hand when it comes to commanding finances. Many people speak words of abundance, but live with actions of limitation. They declare increase, yet manage their resources with fear and doubt. True financial authority is not found in words alone, but in the balance between declaration and discipline. Faith releases power, and wisdom sustains it. When you speak to money, you release a spiritual instruction, but when you manage money wisely, you give that instruction structure to manifest. Without wisdom, your declarations have no vessel to hold the blessing you call forth. Faith is the language of heaven, but wisdom is the strategy of manifestation. When you speak to money, faith opens the door, and wisdom keeps it open. Faith says, money will come, and wisdom says, here is where it will go. Many people are faithful in their confession, but careless in their handling. And as a result, they see temporary success instead of continuous flow. You must learn to treat your finances with respect. Create plans, track your spending, sow with intention, and invest with discernment. The same power that moves mountains can also move money when it is guided by understanding. Words create the atmosphere for increase, but wisdom builds the foundation to sustain it. A person who commands money to move must also learn where to direct it once it arrives. Too many call for abundance, but are not ready to receive it. The moment money comes, it demands structure. It asks, what is my purpose? If you cannot answer, it will drift away. Faith attracts the blessing, but wisdom preserves it. When your financial life becomes organized, money begins to stay, grow, and multiply, because order attracts increase. Wisdom also teaches patience in the process of financial growth. When you speak to money and command it to move, it may not always appear instantly, but that does not mean your words failed. Seeds take time to sprout. The invisible realm works long before visible results appear. Wisdom says, do not cancel your confession by your complaint. Continue to speak life even when you do not yet see it. The moment you doubt your words, you disconnect from their power. Faith holds the vision, wisdom maintains the posture until manifestation comes. Every financial instruction from your mouth should be supported by action. When you say, money, come into my hands, your behavior must show readiness to receive. Open your heart, open your mind, and prepare your environment. Faith-filled words create opportunities, but wisdom recognizes them. You cannot pray for increase and ignore responsibility. You cannot speak of overflow while living in waste. Every decision you make concerning your finances must agree with what you have spoken. When faith and wisdom walk together, they create unstoppable flow. Wisdom also governs generosity. Many misunderstand the principle of giving, thinking it reduces what they have, but in reality, it multiplies it. When you give with understanding, you set a divine law into motion. What leaves your hand with purpose returns multiplied. Faith speaks abundance, and wisdom directs generosity. You do not give randomly, you give strategically, sowing into fertile ground. Each act of giving is a command to your money. Go and grow. When you sow in faith and manage in wisdom, your harvest is guaranteed. The wise understand that money responds not just to what you say, but to what you understand. Knowledge strengthens your words. Study financial principles, learn how wealth flows, and equip yourself with understanding. Speaking to money without knowledge is like steering a ship without a map. Faith gives you courage to sail. Wisdom gives you direction. When you combine both, you navigate through lack into abundance. Ignorance limits movement, but revelation accelerates it. The more you know, the more your words carry authority. Wisdom also manifests through discipline. It is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Saving, planning, and investing are not acts of fear. They are acts of faith in structure. Every time you set aside resources, you prepare for multiplication. Every time you plan ahead, you give your money order. Faith commands increase. And wisdom says, here is where it will multiply. The disciplined soul becomes a channel for consistent flow, not occasional miracles. Discipline is the container that holds the abundance faith creates. Faith gives boldness, and wisdom gives balance. One without the other leads to imbalance. Faith without wisdom causes frustration, and wisdom without faith causes stagnation. Faith dares to believe beyond limits, while wisdom knows how to handle what faith brings. Together, they form the spiritual and practical rhythm of financial mastery. When you speak to money with faith and govern it with wisdom, you create harmony between heaven's promise and earth's principle. Both must work together for true prosperity to appear. You must never separate your confession from your conduct. What you speak in faith, you must live in wisdom. Let your lifestyle reflect your declarations. When you say, money moves in my favor, act like one who expects movement. Organize your finances, plan your giving, and structure your increase. Your words summon wealth, but your actions prepare its place. When faith builds the vision and wisdom builds the system, abundance has no choice but to dwell in your life.